Good evening, folks. You are tuned into the Virtual American Town Hall. I am your host, Mohammed Faheem, with John Runion, Ken DeLuc, Pete Tapasker, and Gaurav Tapasker joining us this evening. We meet here every Thursday, regardless of rain or shine, because we meet inside. It's a Zoom meeting, so the rain or shine doesn't matter to us. Pastor Lawrence Blackful Jr. is my co-host. I think he would be joining in a few minutes. But wanted to get started today with discussing something that Ken brought up: the horrific, horrible carnage that is going on in India. That's the only word that I can use for it. It is, uh, it is carnage, pure and simple. The government of India has failed miserably in addressing the situation or preparing for it. They knew well beforehand, 12 months back, that there is going to be a second wave of COVID, and they did not spend any time preparing for it or any resources preparing for it. They were too busy spending millions of dollars building statues, building temples, and building a new parliament house. That money could have better spent on building hospitals and capacity for the expected second wave that was going to be hitting. And now we are told that there's going to be a third wave that is likely to come. Ken, the numbers that you brought up, 400, 500,000 of new
Yeah, I
cases.
think what I heard this morning was 500,000 a day of new people infected. And if you think about that, in the whole United States, we're up to what, 570,000 have died? Well, if you extrapolate the percentage of people, and it's even worse in India because they don't have the infrastructure right now to have the oxygen and the ventilators, and there's people out in the parking lots for 2 or 3 days. And some of the pictures that you've seen on the news, it's just horrifying. I mean, it's like the worst thing I've ever seen.
Well, the tragedy is this, that the Indian government has totally failed, okay? The numbers that you're seeing, 400, 500,000 that you're hearing, I was listening to an epidemiologist just yesterday, of Indian origin from Brown University, very well, uh, very well renowned, doctor, Dr. Jha, Jha, and he was saying that he has been tracking this thing for the past, year and more, and the number of cases is at least 3 to 4 times what the government numbers are telling you. So it's not 500,000, Ken. It's more likely close to 2 million a day. Okay. And now that is leading, he was saying that, okay, even if 5% of those end up in a hospital, that is going to overwhelm the system, which is already overwhelmed. Every single day, over 100,000 people would be looking to come into an ICU that they would need, every day. So in a week,
Yeah.
you're going to look at 500,000 people having to be treated in an ICU. Now, there's a lot of non-governmental agencies, aid agencies, private individuals that have stepped up to provide service. And most of the supporters of the right-wing Indian government now, you don't see them anywhere. These guys were too busy trying to make, India into a theocracy by making it into a Hindu majority country and just making sure that the Hindus and the Muslims kept on fighting with each other by bringing up all kinds of nonsense. And now COVID does not care whether you're a Hindu or a Muslim or a Christian or a Sikh. Okay. It does not care whether you are rich or whether you're poor. COVID is attacking everybody. And there's absolutely no preparation. You're talking about people dying on the streets. Yeah, people are burning corpses now in parking lots because the crematoriums are so filled. There's no place to bury people now. This is ridiculous. This should not have happened. And remember, India is the pharmacy to the world. Okay. So for the pharmacy to be this unprepared is unacceptable. Now, I don't want to vent on the government as such. Part of the blame comes on the people also. Okay, there is no social distancing. There is no attention to masking. And Pete, correct me if I'm wrong, okay?
Yeah, no, no, you are
So it
right.
is not just the government to be blamed. It is the individuals in India also that are to be blamed. Now, where the blame comes on the government is where the government is allowing massive festivals to happen, religious festivals, millions of people gathering for a religious festival. The government could have put a stop to that. They did not. Where the government is to be blamed is massive election rallies. The Indian Prime Minister is on tape saying, you know, I am so glad I'm in this rally. All I see is people. Wherever I see is people. Now, this is while the pandemic is going on. That is stupid, for lack of a better word. So yeah, there's equal blame to be put, but the people are suffering. They are suffering so bad. Just imagine, guys, not being able to breathe. Just imagine that you go into a hospital over here and they kick you out because there's no bed there. Or they ask you to bring your own medicine with you. And everything is mismanaged. The amount of foreign aid that is flowing into India is massive. But then they did not have a system in place to receive the aid, to distribute the aid, to make sure that the aid goes to where it is needed most. The logistics were not even looked at. They were just too damn unprepared. So most of the aid that is going from everywhere, from Canada, from the US, from Australia, hell, even the third world countries like Burma and other places are sending aid to India. Bangladesh is sending aid to India. Pakistan is sending aid to India. Unacceptable. India has lost face. And a lot of it has to do with unqualified people being in top management. If this was a company that was being run this way, the CEO would have been fired a long time back. Now, our theme here is how do we come up with solutions for issues? Issues are there. Any thoughts?
Well, I have to give a little bit of kudos to the current administration. They're talking about suspending the patents and just making that available to other companies that just can go ahead and provide that, because it's not a matter of a company making a lot of money. And the companies that have been doing this so far, I'm sure they're making a lot of money anyways already. Let's just get this stuff out there, because the problem that India has isn't just in India, it's a pandemic, which means that what their problem is, if there's a variant that comes down the road, it's going to be our problem next year, okay? So it's really important to make this thing go away.
Ken, I don't agree with you on the next year part of it. It's going to be our problem next week.
Yeah.
The US government did not shut down our borders. They are allowing people from India to come, and there is no quarantine in place. These people, I know a family right here in Plainfield that spent 4 months in India. They came back last week. And guess what? They are circulating in the population, and in general population. I'll guarantee you some of them are going to be sick. Okay. I personally know a few people now who came back from India and they were sick. Canada has done a hell of a better job by closing off their borders and saying anybody coming across from any of these countries, they're going to quarantine at their expense for 2 weeks. And why aren't we doing that? Pastor Blackful, welcome, sir. We've been missing you. You've been missing in action.
Yeah, fine. On that ground, actually, see, the only way to stop spreading COVID at this time is quarantine entire country. The reason is that India is overpopulated, 1.4 billion, and 1/4 of the American size, 1/5 actually, and 3-4 times the population. Means what 20 people can, what one person can stay in the space, 20 people are staying in India. So it is
Well,
impossible.
Pete, let's, I don't think that we would be able to solve India's problem
No, no,
sitting
we
over
will
here.
not be able to do that. The only shortest answer is that, right now we cannot talk about that overpopulation, but it has already happened. What we can do is that how to stop spreading, because wave 3 is 100% will be there in a few weeks, 1 or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and that is the fear is that it would spread to the all over the world.
Well,
And
what can we do from here, Pete? Because Ken, I don't know if I told you guys or not, but a reporter from Voice of America had talked to me this week, wanting to know what the Indian diaspora is doing. And believe me, the Indian diaspora is doing a lot. Okay, we are collecting money like crazy. We are sending money like crazy. But hey, in this country, I'm glad that Biden went ahead and lifted the patents on the components of the vaccine. That's good. That's one way of doing it. But people coming into this country, my focus right now is us over here, Pete.
Yeah.
My heart goes out to what is happening in India. Okay,
Mhm.
but what can we do to protect us over here? How can we monitor these people coming in? Nothing is happening, and a lot of rumors are flying about also. Okay, so Pastor Blackful, we have been missing you in action, sir. Where have you been?
Man, where haven't I been is more like the question, but between traveling and with dealing with a number of local issues, hey, we've been on the go today. We had a press conference event addressing the way the American Recovery funds will be spent in Illinois. However, as part of the challenges that we've been looking at addressing, has also been the challenge of how COVID-19 is impacting our brothers and sisters in India, and the access to resources for those in India as well. So among the issues that we are facing as African Americans in this country, and we are also equally concerned about what's happening to our Asian American community and Pacific Island community, as well as our Indian community, and what's happening over in India as well.
I sent out a message the other day that please do not refer to that as the Indian variant. Let's not,
Unfortunately, that has already begun, unfortunately.
right. And that might create a lot of, hate against Indians.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah,
that
it's
is
similar to the
something,
Kung flu, right?
Yeah,
Right,
just
right.
bad as saying the Kung Fu virus, saying the Indian variant. That'll be another.
yeah, absolutely. I
that
mean,
happens.
there's
Agreed.
the B1617 or something that is what the scientists are referring to it.
Mhm.
But if you start giving it a country specific name, then that is not going to be good for people from that country or, over here.
Well, here's
And
the thing about that, Mohammed, is, we can't control that. The best that we can do is to educate folk on the actual name and the actual challenges that those who are in India are facing. But because there is a segment of people both in the United States and around the world who are going to refer to it as something other than what it is, regardless. And so the key that I think is most important is that the voice of those who have the accurate information has to be as loud, if not louder, than those who are trafficking in the foolishness, if you will.
well, thank you again, for bringing out this topic, Ken, and very, very close to my heart. I mean, every single day, I'm getting news of someone that I knew passing away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've never even dreamed of being in a situation like this ever in my life,
Mm-hmm.
that we would see something like this. And
Mm-hmm.
the Indian government, especially in the northern state of Uttar Pradesh, that we call it as UP, there is a gentleman who is the chief minister of the state. Okay, that's how the country functions. Each state has a chief minister,
Okay.
which basically administers the entire state. The guy actually had the gall to tell the police that if anyone is complaining on social media, to file charges against them of insurrection against the state.
Mm.
Now,
Mm.
the Indian Supreme Court came down very heavily on that and said, nope, you can't do that. People have the right to
Mm-hmm.
expect basic health care from their elected representatives and government. And you
Mm-hmm.
cannot threaten people for bringing out the fact that, my grandfather needs an oxygen tank. Where can I
Right.
find it? That's all the guy had put. He didn't say the grandfather was suffering from COVID. He didn't say anything else. And the police landed at this guy's house.
One of the things that I found to be most disturbing is there was one gentleman who was interviewed who had started out at about 6 o'clock in the morning. And by that afternoon, 3 o'clock or so, he had been to 19 different locations trying to access oxygen for his loved one. And just the thought of, and so the question was asked, why didn't you, just take them to the hospital? And he responded, because there's no beds, there's no room. And so as we think about that, there was a point in time where we wouldn't be able to even identify or understand how that could be possible. But when we look at what we've just come through here in the United States of America, we can now relate and understand how the beds can be at capacity, and how resources like oxygen can be a scarcity. And so what do we do? The question becomes, what are we going to do? And I know that we have to still deal with the pandemic that exists here in the United States, but I think that we have a responsibility to also continue to be engaged in our global community and helping those countries where the need is greatest.
One of the things that people are not paying attention to is that it is not just the resources, the physical resources, the hospital beds and the oxygen supply. It is the lack of trained medical personnel now. The medical personnel that are out there are working horrendous hours.
Mm-hmm.
They are facing so much psychological trauma of continuously having to deal with, they take the Hippocratic oath, and now they can't even perform that because there's no medicine, there's no
Right.
resources to help their patients survive. Those guys are going through terrible times. The other thing that I was speaking with the Voice of America reporter this week was the fact that the Indians over here, people like me and Pete and others, it is having a severe impact on us also. There's almost like a survivor's guilt in place with us.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
that we are surviving while our brothers and sisters back home are going through such a terrible, terrible time, and our hands are tied. What else can we do? Again, Pete, correct me if I'm wrong on that. I mean, that is something that is
Right.
being weighing so heavily on my head right now.
Mm-hmm.
I feel privileged to be able to breathe fresh air. I feel privileged to be able to go see a doctor if I have a headache or a migraine or whatever, right?
Right.
It is not just the COVID back there. People have other illnesses. A lot of
Right.
people, can't go and get, chemo, for example, or they can't go for dialysis, for example, because the hospital systems are overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the collateral damage that is being done, not just COVID.
Yeah, it's creating a domino effect.
Those numbers are not even being counted.
And what's scary as hell is that this is just the tip of the iceberg with what's going on there right now.
Yes, sir.
It's terrible right now.
Right.
I really regret waking up 2 weeks from now and seeing where we're at. It's just nuts.
And so I think that, as I was listening to talk radio, or maybe it was just the news this morning, as they talked about releasing the patents for the vaccines. And while many believe that is going to be the key to being able to make available the vaccine in these countries who are struggling and aren't able to afford access to the vaccine and things of that nature, and even other treatments. The thing about that also is this: you can have the technology, you can have the proprietary technology to create the vaccine, but if you don't have the qualified, knowledgeable individuals who are able to take that information and to replicate it and to produce it on a mass scale, and we're talking billions of doses as we look at all these various countries, you're still at a loss if you don't have, even as Mohammed just mentioned, if you don't have the qualified staff, trained and educated individuals who know what to do with this science or this technology. If you don't have the people, then you still are going to continue to suffer loss. And so now,
Lawrence, even a bigger problem, let's say they do have the technology and the staff to do that in India. The bigger problem is time. Yeah. How long does it take to ramp up to make the vaccines to where it's going to make a huge difference? They're in crisis right now.
Because by the time a patient shows up with those, with COVID, the patient was actually, infected a week or 10 days back. Okay, so there's that lag. In right across the border from India, country of Nepal, they have an over 40% positivity rate going on now.
And so you still have to do contact tracing and things like that.
Faheem, at this moment, practically every Indian will be tested positive in 2 weeks' time. Right now, the majority of the people are positive, minority are negative. And it is practically, there's no chance. Every family has only 10 feet distance, impossible to keep. In a 1,000 square feet, 10, 15 people are living. So it is going to happen. This is a pandemic, global. It is a global issue started from China. So we have to have global solution. And if we cannot stop at India level, it will spread to Africa and Europe and Middle East and America. So eventually, so we have to fight this one. It is the war. Actually, it is the war between the nature and the technology. See,
well, here's the thing. It has already spread to these other countries because we have been dealing with, some of the same levels of catastrophe in Africa already, and also having, quote unquote, the South African variant labeled and named. And so, we're dealing with this in other countries already, but I do agree with you, Pete. It's a global pandemic, and we must address it as a global society, a global community.
So there are two aspects. There are two aspects to it, which are more important. Okay, India obviously is ground zero. We have got to make sure that it is contained within the boundaries of India. If it gets out of the boundaries of India, God save the whole world. Okay. Now we got resources over here, but Pastor Blackful, you remember very well that when the pandemic started over here, they had put up a 3,000 bed hospital, field hospital in the McCormick Center. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. We were lucky that we did not have to use that, but our government was sensible enough to plan for something. Okay.
Right.
If you don't use it, that is fine. But back in India, they were so darn busy trying to stay in power that the Modi government has failed, miserably failed. Okay.
I
They would
agree
not
with you.
listen to
Yeah,
scientists. They would
yeah.
not listen to, bureaucrats who are really, really qualified people. We have what is called as the Indian Administrative Service. Okay. These are the top level bureaucrats who have to go through a rigorous process before being selected for that service. Pete knows that I was selected for that service before I migrated. So these are like the creme de la creme of people. The Indian Prime Minister turned around and said, those people don't know anything. They can't be experts in every field. We know better.
Well, that sounds like America before this current administration.
Yep, that is why Donald Trump was a great friend of Prime Minister Modi. Okay,
Yeah,
but that is the ground reality, folks. We are not going to get away from that. It will take some time. Ken has raised his hand. Yes, Ken.
fine.
Yeah, and we've been
Hang
talking
on,
about
Ken.
this for the
Ken
past
has
half
raised his hand.
hour.
You need to raise your hand before you speak now, Pete.
At this moment,
Hang on. Ken raised his hand before you did.
okay.
Okay.
Ken, go ahead.
We've been talking about this subject for the past half hour, and I'm sure
Yeah.
we could probably talk about it for the rest of the hour. But before we leave, I just wanted to ask our legal expert, John Runion, given the fact that our good buddy governor in Florida, Ron DeSantis, today has signed this really draconian election bill, do you think that that bill will stand a chance of being law, or do you think the challenges may come up and they'll be struck down?
I think the challenges are going to come fast and hard, and I believe the law will be found to be unconstitutional. The problem is that it will take time to get it through the system. So if the challenges are going to come, they have to come now. Getting a bill through the Congress and through the Senate and onto the governor's desk is one thing. The other thing is going to be, is he going to sign the bill into law, or is he going to listen to his analysts?
He did today. He did today.
Listen? No, then he's not. Okay, so he's not listening to his people. He's doing what. All right. I think there'll be a lot of challenges on this.
What is happening with the Republican Party, man? Why are they so hell-bent on self-destruction and still going after the Pied Piper?
Because here's where we are when it comes to the Republican Party. And here, just know that you're speaking to someone who is not a part of the Republican Party. So, take what I say with a grain of salt. But right now, when you look at the Republican Party sold its soul to Donald Trump. And now the Republican Party does not know how and doesn't seem to have a way of detaching from Donald Trump. And any individual like Liz Cheney and others, Mitt Romney, who would say anything that is not to promote Donald Trump, are being sanctioned, and now their voices are trying to be silenced. And I think that this is a time for true conservatives, true Republicans who believe in morality, believe in good government, believes in the truth, to stand up. And right now, those voices are few. And the voices of the crazies are the ones that are leading the party. And at the end of the day, if it continues this way, I believe that it'll be the detriment of the Republican Party as we know it.
So do you think that there is a chance of a legitimate third front coming up with Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney and, you know, a lot of the real conservatives coming together, or maybe running as independents and challenging the party?
Well, absolutely. I believe that there's a tremendous threat there. And I'll tell you why. When you take a look at what happened with the Tea Party as it emerged and challenged the status quo or the mainstream Republican Party and those candidates, they won elections. They had an impact on the party. And I believe that the Liz Cheneys, the Adam Kinzingers can have that same type of impact. And ultimately, there will be a fight over the Republican Party and who is able to win these upcoming elections and begin to pull the majority of the party to their side. That's the direction that the party is going to go. And either it's going to go come back to the middle, or it's going to go off the board.
Can I make a prediction here?
I'm
Please
listening.
go ahead, and we'll hold you to it.
Okay, here's my prediction. With Giuliani, him being raided and taking all his electronic devices and everything, and all the stuff the Southern District of New York has been compiling over these past so many years, and with the judge today basically telling the past Attorney General that, no, you have to release all what your paperwork is on that. I think that there's a really better than average chance that Trump and all that core base of his is going to go down in a major way. And then the other Republicans who are out there, the last man standing and the only one raising the red flag is going to be Liz Cheney. I wouldn't be surprised in the next election if she's the Republican candidate.
Well, Ken, I hear you. However, I have to totally disagree because even with Donald Trump going down, what those who have followed Trump and the Trump wing of the Republican Party, what they have recognized is that there is an appetite in America for the kind of rhetoric and the kind of policies that are antiquated and designed to take us back. They have recognized that there's such an appetite for that in America that even if Donald Trump goes down, that is going to remain. And the question becomes,
I don't disagree, but who are they going to replace his shoes with if there's not enough time to have a Donald Trump type figure to fill those shoes? And the rest of the Republicans will maybe wake up and say, hey, we actually have something that's important. We have our values. We have whatever. We got to reconstitute that. I don't see Trump Part 2 being as strong as Trump Part 1. And I don't think Trump Part 2 is going to quite meet the bar to get to that point.
Well, I'm going to tell you like this. I've learned not to underestimate Donald Trump or Trump anything.
Yep, we all thought that he was crazy, but he was crazy as a fox. Okay.
That's right. That's right.
And we got to keep that in mind. Pete, I'm sorry we kind of switched the topics on you all of a sudden.
No, it's okay.
My bad.
But blame Ken for that. But at least Ken did not go into the ether, so we let him speak.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
He's
But
on a roll.
yeah, I mean, our
Don't
country,
jinx
folks,
him.
our country is going through a bad phase also. Okay, politically, we are really, really, really getting hammered by, by the Trumpians, for lack of a better word. But someone sent me a joke the other day about this foreign tourist who had come to California, and he was going through a curio shop, and he picked up a metal statue of a rat. And asked the guy, and how much is the statue? The storekeeper said, well, it's $12 for the rat, $100 for the story behind it. And I don't know if you guys heard that or not, but he said, yeah, no, I can do without the story. Just give me the rat. So he buys the rat for $12 and starts walking down the street. And pretty soon he sees some other rats coming out and following behind him. And he starts walking towards the ocean, and then more rats join, more rats join. There's like 1,000,000 rats following him now. And he's like, what the hell? And he takes the statue and throws it into the ocean. And all the rats follow the statue right into the ocean. So he comes back to the storekeeper, and the storekeeper says, yeah, I knew you would be back. You back for the story now? He goes, no, I don't want the story. But do you have a statue of Donald Trump?
I don't know if California will have a statue of Donald Trump, because California is very, very liberal.
Okay. So
Even if they do have it, they'll probably stone it down. They'll probably, just like they did to the Trump Walk of Fame.
hey, we have lost half your face, Gaurav. We have lost half your face. Don't come so close to the camera, man.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, now is that better?
No, doesn't Gaurav look like Pastor Blackful with glasses?
I guess so.
Okay. All right.
Version of
All right.
But
All right, Mohammed.
in our neck of the woods, folks, Plainfield just inaugurated our new mayor on Monday. And I am so glad. It's a breath of fresh air in Plainfield. He said in his opening remarks in the acceptance, he said, I am not a Republican. I am not a Democrat. I am the mayor of Plainfield, and I'm an American first.
Awesome.
That was so awesome and refreshing to hear from a public official. The outgoing mayor took a swipe at him. That some people who were running for election were beating down on my administration, that we have not done anything in 12 years. Those people were absolutely wrong. I mean, the outgoing mayor dumped on this guy like crazy. But when, the new mayor time came up, he went up and he said, hey, we have had our differences, folks. Let's come together for the betterment of Plainfield. I think
good.
I think Faheem, I would say there are the wonderful words I heard after a long time. The entire word needs that one. The politics has been playing for last 200 years, and we have to grow beyond politics. The politics has not solved any of our problem. So still we are in a slavery time. We don't use that word. When Abraham Lincoln abolished it, still in one or other form it is practiced. Employees are nothing but slaves today to the industries. How much freedom they have. So, the COVID, at least it is trying to bring them awareness. The nature is higher than everything what we do. We are all fighting for the economy, money. We are not going beyond that. The politicians are after the money. So science, when they are going to learn science, see, climate change or the science, COVID is teaching
is
us
a reality. Pastor Blackwell, you are again muted, sir.
See,
Okay. Well, I'm unmuted now. I'm glad that I am. So I wanted to, as we talk about Plainfield, I want to talk about something that's happening in the city of Markham. In Markham, Mayor Roger Agpawa has served a term as mayor, and he was recently re-elected in this last election by 80% of the electorate. In his first run, he was challenged because he is a convicted felon. Now, he has been the fire chief in Markham prior to running for mayor. And in his first term, he was challenged. And at the time, Governor Bruce Rauner, I don't know what the official action was that Bruce Rauner took, but whatever it was, it allowed Roger Agpawa to be able to serve as mayor of Markham. However, the folk who don't want him as mayor challenged that, and recently the court has ruled that what Governor Rauner did was outside of his power to do. And so here we are with a mayor, a sitting mayor that has now been reelected by the electorate, but unable to take office because based on this court decision, he is not eligible as a convicted felon to be mayor of this city, even though he served for 4 years as mayor already. So I wanted to share that with you all because that is something that is at play right now. And maybe, John, you have some insight on this, but I know that one of the angles is an appeal to President Biden for a pardon for Mayor Roger Agpawa.
Yeah, I'm really kind of in a situation where I don't know how to answer this. Yes.
You shut him up, Pastor Blackful. You shut up and lawyer.
Real quick question here before we even get into it. Is this a state grievance against him, or is it a federal grievance? Because it's the state one.
So here
can do anything anyways.
So here is what it comes down to, John, and this will help you. Even though I'm not an attorney, this part will help you. So his conviction was a federal conviction. It was for mail fraud. And so it was a federal conviction. And so the reason that, based on my understanding, is the reason that they're saying that Rauner's action was outside of his power to do is because it was a federal conviction. And in order to get approval or any kind of sanction or ability to serve in this capacity, it had to come from a federal level. And so I think that is what has caused this new decision to come forward.
So again, it's a very interesting situation now. So if the president pardons this person, is it retroactive, or is that going from now?
No, it goes from now.
From now,
the pardon doesn't go backwards. You are pardoned as of today,
and that's all backwards. He needs. And that's all he really needs.
Well, here's the thing. This is not a hello, Joe. Listen, I need a favor from you. I need to get a pardon for a guy friend of ours. You remember him, Joe? He's the guy that. It doesn't happen. There is an application. There is a complete investigation. There is
Wait
a
a minute.
vetting
Wait a
program.
Hey,
minute.
John, come
That's
on,
not
John.
what.
That's
That's
not how
not
it
what.
was in
That's
the
not
Trump
what Roger
administration, sir.
Stone did.
This,
Okay.
all right. You have been
It was
entrenched
Dan.
in Chicago politics way too long, my friend. Way too long. I mean, you know, this isn't the Mayor Daley back room. Smoke a cigar, have a scotch,
No,
and we'll figure it out.
this is the Donald Trump, Roger Stone, all the rest of the guys. We want the Roger Stone deal.
Well, the Roger Stone deal and President Trump both are gone. So we're going back to the way it absolutely ought to be, is
True.
applications, and then
Right.
let's take a look.
By that time, Biden's first term would be over, and the mayor's next 4-year term would be over. So meanwhile, who is managing the city?
Well, that's the challenge right now, because he is the sitting mayor. However, the current election cannot be approved to go forward as the elected mayor with this court case, this decision having come down. So at this point, the city is in limbo.
Well, here's the thing: the mayor of the city, especially in the smaller communities like, you know, Plainfield, Hoffman Estates, so on and so forth, the mayor is figurehead. The actual person that's running the village is the village manager, and you know, he's the one in charge of budgetary concerns and, you know, keeping everything running from day to day. The village elected officials, the trustees and the mayor or the president, depending on how it's set up, I mean, they're the figureheads and they point the direction.
This is an aldermanic form of government.
Well, that takes its own can of worms in a whole different direction. But the real reality is that we still have a village manager that's going to run the day-to-day operations of the village, whether the mayor is embattled in the court case or not. I think the real reality is what is going to happen in this court case, because he's already done his time. He's already paid his debt to society as far as I can see. And now we're trying to get a pardon for him for something that he's already done, has already paid his debt. And the only reason is that we're trying to keep him in office. My position is, let the court case go the way the court case is going to go. And if the mayor is non-electable on the next go round, which he's not, then he will step aside. And once it's cleared up, if the public wants him back, he can then rerun for office. And if a majority votes for him, he's back in. But in the meantime,
but he just won this election that just took place in last month or so. He won with 80% of the electorate.
I gotta pipe in here. Okay, let's assume in the same scenario that there was a different mayor here and he won and he wasn't elected.
Whoever said that Ken did so good, you jinxed him and you jinxed him.
You jinxed him, Mohammed. You jinxed him. You jinxed him.
Ken, please repeat.
Okay, let me lower my hand. Maybe that will work.
Okay.
Let's look at the scenario. If there was a
Why
different
don't you just
mayor,
speak with your hand, Ken?
well, I'm just trying to,
Sign language,
I'm trying to
man.
be polite. I'm trying to be polite. If there were a different mayor in there, okay, and this guy won and he can't be appointed mayor, the existing mayor would continue to be the mayor until this situation was resolved, right?
No, his term is his period of being the mayor is over. So what we would end up having to do is look to the and I don't know how they're going to categorize it, the vice mayor, I mean, whatever the person that was elected directly underneath,
The senior
or
trustee.
yeah, or you would have to look at the senior, you know, how the village is put together, a chain of command as far as elected officials goes. Because if the mayor can't serve, then Mohammed would be probably right, because it's going to be, you know, one of the senior trustees that would become the mayor. I mean, it's just like we have in the federal government. It's the president, it's the vice president, it's the speaker of the house. You know, we have a chain of custody that's going to keep the government moving forward.
You mean chain of command, John, not custody. You're going back to your police roots now.
you have to remember, you know, custody.
Yeah, we know where you come from.
Things.
We know where you come from.
But folks, that brings up a very interesting question, Pastor Blackful.
Yeah, but let me say this, that because it is an automatic form of government, and Mohammed, you were right. The senior most alderman, when the mayor is not able to function, and even during transition from one mayor, like if a mayor dies, and we had this situation in Chicago Heights, if a mayor dies and there is a process of appointing the successor, the senior most alderperson serves as mayor pro tem until there is an official swearing in of that new mayor.
Yep. My question that I really wanted to throw out today, and we could probably end on that note, I guess, where did this law or rule come into being that a felon cannot vote? A felon eats, a felon drinks, a felon has paid his or her debt to society. So why are we keeping out a significant percentage of 1 in 3 Americans have been in jail, sir? Okay, and
2 out of 3 of those are going to be black.
And
it's a state by state issue. It's not a federal thing. Each state decides their own rules.
Right, but when we look at the motivation, the rationale, where laws like this how it originated, it comes back down to the issue of race in America, and that is the fact that, you know, we're trying to take black folk and put them back in slavery, so we lock them up disproportionately, and in order to strip them of power, or in order for the minority in some cases to retain power, then we strip them of their voting rights, which, you know, again, reduces the chances of this population, you know, rising in political power. And I believe that that's what this comes down to.
Now,
so Pastor Blackful, has the African American leadership addressed this issue in any way, shape, or form, or being proactive in this?
This has been a conversation and a fight for many, many years. Every year, this is always an issue in the African American community, and has in Mississippi and even in Georgia recently. In the Stacey Abrams was able to challenge this in Georgia, and there were thousands of individuals who had been unable to vote because of a felony background in the last couple of elections, beginning with the election, I believe, when she ran for governor. They were able to now vote. So in many states, though, that's being overturned, and felons are their voting rights are being restored.
Right. Here's the thing. Let me just say this so everybody has the right understanding of it. In the state of Illinois, you only lose your right to vote as a felon as long as you are in custody. Now, if you have been convicted of a felony and were incarcerated in the penitentiary, but have left the penitentiary and you are no longer going back to the penitentiary, automatically your right to vote is restored. The thing is that if you have moved to, let's say, a halfway house, and then the argument would be is he still in custody because he is being remanded to a halfway house? But to avoid that argument, we'll just say that this person has done his time, but has moved to a new residence. All he has to do is re-register at his new residence, and according to the law in the state of Illinois, he has the right to vote. So
what if he's on probation?
As long as he is not in custody of the Illinois Department of Corrections, the right to vote is automatically restored. So if he is not in Statesville, if he is not in one of the penitentiaries here in the state of Illinois, his right to vote is sacrosanct and he is able to vote. The only question is does he have a right to vote from where he is living now? If he's moved, he just has to re-register at his new location and he has a right to vote. Even if you have a conviction, you have two convictions, as long as you've done your debt of time, you have the right to vote in Illinois. Now, other states, they've taken away voting rights to people permanently because of a felony conviction. And as you said, Reverend, now they're overturning that slowly. But for us, we're pretty progressive in this issue where you're no longer in custody. Go to the voting booth and vote right away. Yeah.
So, John, what is the issue with the mayor of Markham then?
Well,
he served his time. He's out.
He served his time and he's out. The thing is that we're now talking about the narrow issue of voting. We're not talking about the holding of public office or anything else. And that's the dichotomy that we have to look at. We have to divorce ourselves from the fact that he has a right to vote, but the issue is, does he have a right? But he doesn't have. It's not the right to run for public office. It's the right to hold public office.
Yeah, because when you apply to run as a candidate, that question is asked: have you been convicted of a felony?
Yeah. Right. And the thing of it is that who is it? A really famous. No, golly, no. Marion Barry out of DC. Yeah. I'm not sure how many times he was convicted for drugs and cocaine and everything else.
And they elected him every time.
And they've re-elected him every time. So just because you have a felony conviction, dependent on the laws of the state of where you're at, you very well may be able to run for public office and be elected. I mean, you certainly can become a lawyer even with a felony conviction on your record, as long as you've done your time.
Let's not get into personal stories, sir. Okay.
You mean to tell me I can be a lawyer?
Well, you Reverend, we're not going to go down that road today with you.
The rep went away on that note, man. I don't see him anymore.
Well, I pushed
the button. Away.
Rep, what happened? You preparing for the LSAT all of a sudden?
Yeah, the real,
I don't know what happened to him. He's gone.
the real reality is that, people are under the misgivings, at least in the state of Illinois, and it's a sad commentary, is that once you're a convicted felon in this state, you have no right to vote, and
Well,
that's
John,
patently
I'm
not
so
true.
glad. I'm so glad you clarified that because not too many people are aware of what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they just give up. They don't even want to go and vote because they think they cannot. Okay.
Right.
Hey, Ken, reach out to the Rev, see what happened to him.
What's that?
I said, reach out to the Reverend, see what happened to him.
Yeah, he fell off the roadmap here.
Yeah, I mean, I
Again,
don't want him
he's
getting
looking
hurt.
for his old LSAT books that he had under his bed.
But to end on a light note, as usual, folks, Gaurav, if you could not lean back and look, man, like sharp, you lean back like you're relaxing. You're on video. Remember that, and this is going on YouTube. Okay. So when people ask about you, when it's time for you to get married, and your future in-laws are going to be, oh, that guy, he's so relaxed. I want you to pay attention. Okay. But
I'm not wearing a
disturbing,
tie today. I'm kind of relaxed.
yeah, disturbing news again, folks. The world's two richest men could not keep their wives happy. What chance do we have?
Oh, no.
Just don't get rich.
No, we're not going down. We're not going down that road. No way in heaven. We don't
Okay.
know. We don't know what's going on with Mr. and Mrs. Gates. So
Well, it seems, it seems Bill had a side gig going on all the time that he used to spend long weekends. Obviously, it was an arrangement that was approved by the missus. And she's now, the other one is like 70 years old, but hey, she's in good shape. But,
I feel really bad for Bill. How's he going to get along with only half his money?
oh, man. And she's not asking for spousal support. Remember that. She was so gracious. She said, I am not going to ask for spousal support. Okay. I don't know. I don't know what kind of world we are living in, folks. But again, it's our witching time. Thank you all for joining us. And the Rev is suddenly, he fell off the map all of a sudden. So I would like to end off with with a prayer, at least this time, that may God keep us all safe and in His grace, and forgive us our minor and major sins, including the fact that we are all married. I'm sorry, I didn't have to bring that up. Okay, but may we all live a healthy life. May we all live a productive life. May we all live a life of giving back to the society that has given us so much, to the country that has given us so much. On that note, I would like to
And
end.
please save India.
Oh gosh, Ken, I'm so glad you brought up the Indian situation at the end. Pete, you had a point that you wanted to make, and let's wind up on that note.
Yeah, I mean, right now we are in the juncture where we have to save the humanity. India made several mistakes last couple of months, and I mean they have learned a lesson, and it is also we as an entire one planet and humanity together have to solve this problem. I think we all pray for the God and wish, keep a hope, and so we all will be winners together.
Pete, do you know a place where I can get a statue of Narendra Modi, the Indian Prime Minister?
Going to take a walk to the ocean, are you, Mohammed?
Because that is exactly what is required. I mean, the guy has to go. Okay. Folks, with that, thank you all very much. And we will convene again next week, same place, same time. And hopefully we will have some good news coming out. I'm very happy that in our country, our state, the government is thinking of relaxing some of the rules a little bit more, because it seems that we are doing a bit better than what we were last month. and hopefully the trend will continue. With that, good night. You
Wait,
have been
one
tuned
quick
in
thing.
to.
I just want to say one thing. Congratulations on announcing that you're running for the 8th District of Illinois.
Well, thank you very much. We are going to do a formal announcement, John and I, at the end of this month in Schaumburg. We are going to be doing a big one, and I wanted to cue you guys in next week on that. We are still working on some of the plans. Okay. On that note, folks, you've been tuned in to the Virtual American Town Hall. I am your host, Mohammed Faheem. My co-host, Pastor Lawrence Blackful Jr., dropped out of the conversation all of a sudden. His light probably went off, or he didn't pay his cable bill. Either one of the two. On that note, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, all. Take care.
Take care.